The people's revolution. This is the revolution. I want to hear everybody sing. Everybody sing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And good evening to all of you assembled in this hall, our supporters, friends, officers. Good evening to the political leader, the Honourable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, parliamentary colleagues, members of the platform, officers of the party, brothers and sisters listening throughout Trinidad and Tobago, viewing on the various social media platforms, supporters in Canada, the United States, England. A very warm welcome to Norbert and friends in Canada and the Surge Valley family in London who's receiving this broadcast at this time. Thank you for waking so late in the night in Europe to hear us. Brothers and sisters, it's a pleasure again to be on the UNC platform and to speak on a few issues. Tonight, in the time assigned to me, I would speak on only two issues, key issues, one involving the Police Service Commission and one, of course, involving this unraveling of what is the biggest scandal in 100 years in Trinidad and Tobago, this matter of Vincent Nelson and the Attorney General and the government. There can be no doubt today that Keith Rowley is leading a hand-to-mouth government. This government is living hour by hour. Every single day, we receive more and more frightening expose on what has happened, what has transpired over the last 3 or 4 years. This frightening expose is more terrifying than anything you could hear or you could see during the season of Halloween. I put it to you that this government is limping and dragging their way towards 2023 and 2025, and we believe that the ship of state is now broken and it is sinking piece by piece by piece. The editorial of today begins with the line, "It is hard to escape the feeling that Trinidad and Tobago is being run by a bunch of amateurs so blinded by political ambition that they can no longer distinguish right from wrong and decency from indecency." That is an editorial in the newspaper, national newspaper today. This newspaper awoke, I guess, after a long time, but depicts the crisis that we face today, brothers and sisters. This is a scandal of a lifetime. Every day it is shock and awe. Our children and grandchildren will speak of Nelson Gate for the next 100 years to come. This replaces Johnny O'Halloran and McDonnell Douglas scandal and all of them that went with the PNM before. And the country will owe a debt of gratitude to Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC for exposing this matter. Today the government is tripping on itself. They are tripping on themselves. The Prime Minister wants to disassociate himself from this. He said, "I'm not involved in that. Cabinet not involved in that." When he said that, I opened my phone and I have some cards there. I take out my ID card because I believe that the Prime Minister think that I born yesterday. So I had to look at my date of birth again. But he think everybody born yesterday. In a matter like this, an indemnity to a star bombshell witness for criminal prosecution against a former Attorney General, former Senator in the Parliament. You tell me the Prime Minister don't know about that? If he don't know about that, then he's a lame duck and he must resign. And if he know about that, then he crooked and he must resign. Brothers and sisters, they have destroyed the economy, and we spoke a lot about that recently. Won't come to that now. Let me get to this Prime Minister. He is in a tangled web. He's in a tangled web. You know, there was a famous poem in 1808 by Sir Walter Scott Kurt, Marmion, that spoke about this. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. What it means is that when you lie and you have to construct more lies, and you construct more lies, and you are finally out of control. Today, this government is out of control because of the lies. So that they have weaved the tangled web, and the Prime Minister is at the center. While Faris Alwari, rightfully, Alwari, is the poster boy for this catastrophe. Do not forget, this scandal is tied to the feet of Keith Rowley like a slab of concrete. It is tied to his feet and he cannot escape. He now has a history of interfering in independent institutions such as the DPP office. Remember the Police Service Commission, brothers and sisters. Tonight I will just tell you, we have, through the freedom of information, lawyers have obtained copies of minutes and notes of the Police Service Commission. Police Service Commission, independent under our Constitution. And would you believe, in one note in November 2021, we have it in our possession, the chairman of the Police Service Commission says in that note, I quote, "The cabinet is urging the commission to send Mr. Gary Griffith on administrative leave." Could you imagine that? The cabinet is urging the commission to send Mr. Gary Griffith on administrative leave. They may have that little segment to show on the screen in a few minutes. Based on legal advice and the pending investigation of Justice John. She, however, that is Blissy Pasad, informed the commission that the investigation of John was not a disciplinary process and the commission should not be acting on that request. So the Prime Minister requested from the Service Commission, independent, that they send Gary Griffith home. They throw him out effectively. This is unheard of in a democracy with respect for independent constitutional institutions. This is where we have reached under Keith Rowley. In another note, we learned that the Police Service Commission received a secret report. You know what they call it? A secret, top secret report. Sounding like something from Get Smart. Or you know, Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther. They have now a secret, top secret report. The commission emphasized, brothers and sisters, that this secret report was of 2 men, but only 1 man signed it. So they wanted to find the next author of the secret report before they consider it. And when they could not find him, they said, well, we cannot consider that report because that report is incomplete. They then asked the Prime Minister why he took so long to bring the report to them. And here is what is minuted. September 2021. Here is what is minuted. Quote, "The commission emphasized its disgust with the chairman of the National Security Council, who was in possession of documents in March 2021, the secret report, but did not submit to the commission until September 2021 when they were reappointing Gary Griffith." Unquote. Could you imagine that? An independent constitutional institution saying we have expressed disgust with the Prime Minister and Chairman of the National Security Council. Now, we express disgust all the time, but this is a service commission, brothers and sisters. This is what they do. They influence and pollute every single thing around them. Brothers and sisters, on this Nelson matter, I don't have to repeat everything that is in the public domain. Brother Saddam Hussein and Anil Roberts spoke about a few matters. But I will just add one matter which I don't believe has been developed in the public domain as yet. You see, this matter has its genesis when the same lawyer, fella Nelson, he was working under the partnership administration and there were outstanding monies owed to him when we left office. So he took the government to court and said, well, I want my money. When he gone to court, somebody gone to him and said, brother, don't worry, you could get your money, you know. But here what happened? You had to fabricate some evidence for me. You had to make some statements and so on. He said, all right, if I'm doing that, I'll get the money. This thing began with him saying, don't call my name. Don't show my face. Don't tell nobody it's me. Look where he reached now. After saying that. But he didn't know was one set of crook dealing with the next set of crook. That's the problem there. There was no virtue in that. My friend, when you sleep with the devil, you cannot roll off the bed. You cannot roll off the bed. When you sell your soul, you cannot buy it back. And this is what happened. This man trying to buy back his soul. So he made a deal that he will make false accusations and statements and so on. And then that led to indemnity and so on. But you know what is amazing with this? Because everybody speaks about the indemnity and I'm sure others will speak about that. I want to get to one issue. One issue quickly. Brothers and sisters, Alwari involvement in that, we know and we will hear much more about that. But in this matter, it reminds me of an Agatha Christie novel called Murder on the Orient Express. They had 12 suspects, and you know all 12 were guilty? In this matter, Alwari guilty, Stuart Young guilty, Keith Rowley guilty, Fitzgerald Hines between sleep and wake, he guilty. Some other lesser mortal lady or something, she guilty too. Everybody is guilty. This is a matter where the cabinet is guilty. All the suspects, they are guilty. They say, Alwari say he informed Rowley. He say he wake up Hines, inform him, and Hines went back to sleep like Kumkaran. So this is the case we find. Nelson and the numbers are in the newspapers. I won't waste time calling it. When you read the numbers, $500 from taxpayers to pay fees in England, $360 to pay local lawyers, $360,000 to attend court. Imagine he get money to attend court in Trinidad. When they charge we just let it go for free. Brothers and sisters, the taxpayer paying Nelson, his English lawyers, they're paying for hotel room, for food. Now we want $100 million more pursuant to his quote-unquote agreement. $790,000 for medical costs. The poor fella, they take away license in England. He want a driver too. Because he can't drive now. So brothers and sisters, he collected millions and millions of taxpayers' dollars that we knew nothing about. How, under what circumstance you could make a deal with this? This is inducing a witness to give testimony against your political opponents. Clear and simple. Anyone can see that. Now the latest we hear, this fella might be in Italy. I don't know if we have an extradition treaty. We have one? We have no extradition treaty with Italy. So he take all the money that Rowley, Alwari, Stuart Young give him. At this time, this fella could be sipping, Jolene, he could be sipping Prosecco while gliding atop a gondola, meandering through the canals of Venice, listening to O Sole Mio. Courtesy Alwari, Kewal Singh, Young, Rowley. Taxpayers' money mining he in Italy to drink fine wine. I don't brag about expensive places I go to. The most expensive place I just go to is a gas station in Trinidad. Some millions of dollars spent, and Rowley tell us, cabinet not involved in that. How you could pay millions of dollars without cabinet or minister of finance involvement? How? We have been in government. We have been in government. Anytime you want to spend over a certain amount, small sum, you better bring a note to cabinet and get approval. Huh? So they are trying to, they believe we never see government in real life. So brothers and sisters, the Attorney General has filed a defense. Hear this one. He said he filed, former Attorney General, on behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. But the head of government don't know nothing. But he filed on behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Amazing, when you read this document, he says, look here, I agree to this indemnity for Nelson and so on. And he agrees that without that indemnity, they would never have gotten all the false accusations, false statements, false testimony to go after Ram Logan and Ramdeen. He admits that. But he said, listen, that thing about breaching the agreement is not me. Stuart Young do it. So listen, they have to go by PTSC and by bus because every day they throw in somebody else under the bus. Every day. They have to get more bus to throw people under it. Alwari say Stuart Young did it. The Gary Sobers of the government, he gave the statement on Young and mash up agreement and so on. Young sell out the case. This is bizarre. But you know what is even worse? I want to tell you, we did our research, as you know we will. Nothing hides really from us for too long. On March 2nd, 2020, on British Airways flight 2158, departing Piarco to London Gatwick with a stopover in St. Lucia. 2 passengers of interest were on that plane, Stuart Young and Vincent Nelson. Now, if you are the Minister of National Security, you must know, Special Branch will tell you when you go anywhere, who is people of interest, who will be there. And a man like Nelson on the plane and you don't know that? And you traveling with him on the same plane? If it was me, I would have run down in the back by seat to 47E. Or I would have taken a parachute and jump off one time because that is trouble. But here it is. In the documents we have read, Stuart Young was on the flight. Nelson alleges that Young left his seat and journeyed to Nelson's seat to converse. This is a man Young knows to be a bombshell witness in a criminal case against political opponents. Brothers and sisters, he goes to Nelson to converse. Converse about what? What you want to find out? What is the weather like in London so you could wear the appropriate clothes? What you going there for? What are they serving? You want to know the menu? He goes to Nelson on the plane. And Nelson tells him, Nelson is a legend, he said, listen boy, hear how they're talking, eh? As if they are so chubby, body. He said, Alwari tell me is, you spell me out. You send the report, the notarized statement to the NCA, National Crime Agency. Young replies, me, as a lawyer, I won't be stupid because I know that will be a breach of the agreement. So he knew about it. Brothers and sisters, if this is true, what did Young, minister in the office of the Prime Minister, former minister in the Attorney General office, and at that time, Minister of National Security, what business you have talking to a state witness like this on a plane? And what else did you say when you stroll to converse with him? What is that? That is improper, it is unlawful, and the police of Trinidad and Tobago must now get a statement from Stuart Young on this matter. I remind you remember this same TTPS under PNM administration, they suspended, arrested, and charged a former Chief Justice because he was on a plane and they allege that he spoke to a lawyer. Chief Justice talked to a lawyer. You know they arrest him already and throw him in jail? Today, government minister speaking to witness in criminal matter against political opponents in Trinidad. I want to see what they will do about this. Young has no business, brothers and sisters, approaching. Many of us, this is a small island. Sometimes we go to a function, wedding or funeral or something, and a judge or something there. We move away. We don't even want to say hello because then one talk will lead to two talk. And next thing the judge hearing a matter involving somebody, and that is a family or something. You have to exercise a high level of discretion in this business. And Stuart Young must explain why was he conversing. Because who sent statement to who? That is the point, brothers and sisters. But Young is issuing statement yesterday. My advice to Stuart Young, as Anil says, small pin. I don't know why, but my advice to him is when you're in quicksand, don't make any sudden move. When you're in quicksand, you mustn't make any sudden move because you will go further down. So it begs several questions about this sordid affair. What did Young do on that plane? And that is something we will continue to speak about in the days ahead. We cannot allow that to happen. And the final point I make is that in all those correspondence as well, the indemnity we are told, and we have seen it somewhere, must be leaked somewhere, was this indemnity received by a police officer, Harold Phillips? Was this received by the police? The police have no business in indemnity. They work with the DPP, who is in charge of plea bargain and agreement. Not Alwari and Young and Rowley. When Phillips got this, did he take it to the DPP and say, boss, what is this about? This is wrong. Did he continue to investigate with this indemnity in his hand? That is improper. It is unlawful. It is illegal. The Plea Bargaining Act, brothers and sisters, the Criminal Procedure, Plea Discussion and Plea Agreement, Chapter 1307, create an offense for police officers to aid or abet an improper inducement to encourage an accused person to participate in plea discussion. The police may have committed criminal offenses that carries $25,000 fine and 5 years in jail. Who is going to call the police to account? This is the same police, brothers and sisters, that are working with SRP in England, SRP Kate, and others who Rowley made SRP so they could come and participate in criminal investigation against UNC ministers and officials. That is illegal. There's a matter in the court now that you cannot use SRPs for criminal investigation because they are not police officers according to the Police Act and the Constitution. They are not impartial. They are not independent. They cannot participate in police work like that. They have to call out in case you have a riot and an earthquake and a thunderstorm and so on. They cannot be investigating criminal conduct. Rowley has done this, and in the next few weeks and months, you will hear much more about this matter. But you wonder now, will they bring SRPK to investigate Stuart Young? Would they do this? And I will leave you with the final note. You see, in May 2019, we have it from good source, it is there. And we check travel itinerary and everything already, so don't worry. When we talk, we don't check immigration and customs and everybody. A delegation left this country, Rowley, Stuart Young, Franklin Khan. They said they're going to visit Shell in Holland, but they were passing through London to and from. In May 2019, government officials met the English lawyer Kate McMahon, or what's her name, and her team in the Mayfair Hotel. Kurt, you know what I'm thinking. The Mayfair Hotel in London. They met there and had discussions on prosecuting and persecuting political opponents of the PNM. That is information we got from somebody who was in the delegation. And he was so outraged and disgusted. He reported it to people in Trinidad and Tobago. And he said that he was so disgusted because he himself was a victim of what he called political prosecution by colleagues in the PNM. And he raised that matter in Trinidad. Today I asked Stuart Young if he's aware of government officials meeting SRP, Kate and others in May 2019 in a hotel, Mayfair Hotel in London, England, where they were plotting to target officials of the UNC and former ministers of the partnership government. I leave you with that. On the next occasion, with a little more time, we will speak about the mosquito crack. We have to speak about that, and don't forget it. And we will speak about Balize House. The construction of Balize House is linked to the mosquito crack. You won't believe that, but it is linked to the mosquito crack. And we will announce the name of contractors who have contributed and donated to the construction of Balize House. And Jolene, when we are finished with that house, we will take that house and open a home for the homeless in Port of Spain and a soup kitchen. Balize House eventually will be a place for vagrants to go, because it has always been a place for vagrants. So thank you all. God bless you. Shubh Diwali. Love you all.